Good morning to you all, my great scholars. I'm so happy to be on this platform this morning, and I believe you are all happy to see me from your various homes. Please let us continue to keep safe. Our first topic for this term is the respiratory system. But before we proceed, I would like to share the objective of today's lesson with you, which are: 1, at the end of this class, you should be able to describe the different types of respiratory system. Secondly, you should be able to list the characteristics of respiratory surface. And lastly, you must be able to draw and label some of the respiratory organs of some animals. Firstly, what is respiration? Respiration is a metabolic process in living organisms in which all the cells of an organism obtain energy by combining oxygen and glucose, resulting in the release of carbon dioxide, water, and energy. It is also about chemical activities of the cell in which glucose is broken down by a series of reactions controlled by enzymes to release energy. Respiratory systems are necessary for gas exchange, which is a physical process that takes place by diffusion. We have different types of respiration. The first one is aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is a type of respiration which requires oxygen to break down glucose, that is substrate, into water, carbon dioxide, and energy, ATP, which is known as adenosine triphosphate. This is a graphical representation of what anaerobic respiration looks like. From this diagram, we can see that glycolysis takes place here in the Krebs cycle. First, what is glycolysis? Glycolysis is the breakdown of simple sugar, like glucose, to yield pyruvic acid and ATP as a source of energy. The second type of respiration is anaerobic respiration. This type of respiration does not require the presence of oxygen to provide energy, unlike that of aerobic respiration. Here, glucose is broken down to yield only carbon dioxide, alcohol, and energy. Aerobic respiration. During aerobic respiration, there are two processes that occur. First, glycolysis and fermentation. But in aerobic respiration, the only process that occurs is glycolysis. What is fermentation? Fermentation is a chemical breakdown of a substrate by bacteria, yeast, or other microorganisms. Types of respiratory system. The first type of respiratory system we are going to be looking at today is body surface respiration, which is also known as cutaneous respiration. This is a form of respiration in which gas exchange occurs across the skin. This can be seen in many less complex animals with specialized respiratory organs, such as the insects, amphibians, fish, sea snakes, and turtle. Some other organisms also have other types of respiratory system, e.g., the fish. It has gills, yet it still makes use of cutaneous respiration in shallow water. Cutaneous respiration means when an animal uses its body surface to breathe as long as it remains wet. This is mostly common in earthworms. Earthworms uses their body surface to breathe as long as they remain wet. We also have another example like the toad. The second type of respiratory system are the tracheal system, that is the gaseous exchange in an insect. This is seen in insects such as locusts. Insects have tiny openings in their abdomen called spiracles, through which oxygen diffuses out. The spiracle leads into certain tubes called trachea, which further divide into smaller tubes called tracheales. And these tiny tubes get into the tissue and cell through the body fluid. That's a graphical representation of the tracheal system in locusts. The third type of respiratory system is what is called gaseous exchange in bony fish. That is, they make use of their gill system. Larger organisms, such as the fish, obtain energy from water by means of specialized structures called gills. The surface area of gills is large, especially in very active fish. The gills have a very fine structure which allow the water and blood to be in close contact. It is protected by the outside by a movable bony flap called operculum, which acts both as a valve allowing for the exit of water and also a pump to draw water from the gill filaments. It's a graphical representation of fish using their gill system to breathe. The last type of respiratory system, it is the gaseous exchange in mammals, that is, those animals that uses their lungs for breathing. Example is man. Mammals have lungs for gas exchange, and each lung is cone-shaped, and the base touches the diaphragm. There is a thin membrane called the pleural lining outside the thoracic cavity and outside of each lung. The two layers of the pleura are separated by what we call pleural fluid, which reduces friction during movement. A graphical representation of lung system, the gaseous exchange system in man using their lungs, nasal cavity, trachea to the lung. We can see that the lung is resting on the diaphragm during its movement. Now let's go to the characteristics of respiratory surfaces. What are the characteristics of respiratory surface? Firstly, a respiratory surface must be moist because gas diffuses in solution through them. It must be permeable to allow the passage of gas in and out of them. Thirdly, it must be thin wall to soften diffusion distance and make diffusion easier and faster. Fourthly, it must have adequate supply of transport medium, e.g. the blood. A good respiratory surface must have a large surface area to aid diffusion of gases. With this and many more, we have come to the end of today's class. Please stay indoor and stay safe. See you shortly in our next class. You are welcome once again, my great scholars. I remain your sincerely, Mrs. Ayewole. Today, we are going to be talking about the second topic for this term, which is mechanism of respiration. Mechanism of respiration. In our first class, we talked about respiratory system, that is, the types of respiration, characteristics of respiratory surfaces. Now, before I go further, I would like to share the lesson objective of today's teaching. They have, you must be able to describe respiration process in mammals like man, fish, and the rest. Also, you must also be able to explain the process of respiration in lower animals. And thirdly, describe the mechanism of exchange of gases through the stomata of plants. What is mechanism of respiration? The mechanism of respiration includes all the structures and organs of living organisms associated with the process of taking oxygen into their body system and giving out carbon dioxide and water vapor into the atmosphere or the environment. Organisms adapt different types of respiratory system depending on their types, complexity, size, and the habitat in which they are found. Firstly, let's look at the respiratory system, the respiration in man. The respiratory system in man includes the nasal passage of nostril, the fans, the lungs, and the false buds, the bronchitis, and the alveoli. The nostril leads to the posterior postern of the mouth cavity called pharynx, and this leads into the box, which then leads into the windpipe or trachea. A flat piece of tissue, the epiglottis, covers the entrance of the lungs to prevent food particles from entering the lungs and trachea when food is swallowed into the esophagus. The trachea branches into two bronchi. The mechanism of respiration is in two stages. the external and the internal or tissue respiration. The internal respiration is the breathing of air or oxygen into the lungs. The structures within the body normally involved in breathing are lungs, alveoli, bronchi, intercostal muscle, diaphragm, trachea, ribs, and the nose. A graphical representation of the respiratory system in human. Like I mentioned earlier, in stages from the nasal passage to oral cavity, the pharynx, the lungs, the trachea, bronchi, lungs, heart, and the ribs. Now let's discuss about the respiration in lower animals. Example, Amoeba. Amoeba is a unicellular organism having no special respiratory organ. Oxygen that dissolves in water diffuses into their body, while carbon dioxide goes out of their body through the entire body surface. The process of gaseous exchange in unicellular organisms is made possible by simple system called diffusion. These organisms have large surface area to volume ratio, hence diffusion through the body surface alone is enough to satisfy its gaseous exchange needs. Respiration in plants, that is, plants using their stomatas. In plants, gas exchange takes place through the stomata that are present mainly on the lower surface of the leaf. Each stomata is surrounded by a hair-beam shape called guard cells. The stoma can be opened or closed depending on how turgid the guard cells are. The stoma opens when the guard cells are turgid, that is, when they are filled with water, and closes when the guard cells lose water and become flaccid or limp. Stomata are responsible for allowing carbon dioxide to enter the leaf and allowing oxygen to diffuse out in the leaf during photosynthesis. That's the respiration system in plants. Oxygen is being taken in while carbon dioxide is given out on the leaves. While on their root, oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is given out. With this, we have come to the end of today's class, which is types of respiratory system. This is the second topic for this term. Please to go to the school website and download the comprehensive notes. Read well and understand, and then attend the following assignments, the assignments under it, and you can submit via the school website. You can also read more on this topic by checking our recommended text, Essential Biology for Senior Secondary School by MC Michael. I'm so glad that you have enjoyed today's class, and I hope and believe you are going to be seeing me very soon, God's willing. Thank you and stay blessed. See you in next class. Mrs. Ayewole remains my name. Bye.